welcome to the Twilight Network. Sorry, I'm still just setting myself up a little bit here. Good morning. My name is Liam, coming to you as always from Northern Midlands and Tasmania. Always was, always will be Palawa traditional land. We just have the benefit of coming together to look at a hunter story. Now, Hunter is not necessarily my game. Much like I said with Deviant, Hunter is a game that is really, really good, but it's just always one that I've struggled with because for me, many of the themes come across in other texts put out by Onyx Path. So as we go through this stream, please acknowledge my own bias in that. Please acknowledge that my camera is being very odd. Nah, it's probably just a bit cold. So, what is Hunter the Vigil? Hunter the Vigil is fundamentally a storytelling game, but you are not a supernatural being. You are not a master of your fate, you are not a master of reality like a mage, you are not a spiritual guardian like the werewolf, you are not a traumatized rediscoverer of your power like a changeling. You are not the dead that's come back like a vampire. You are a mortal human being. You are normal. You had a job, or have a job. You are personable. Maybe you go out on Friday nights for a beer with your mates. My hands should not be flaring that much. Oh my gosh. No, it is. There we go. That looks like a clear picture. Hunter is a game where you are fulfilling a vigil. What is a vigil? A vigil is your calling, your desire, your direction in a fight against darkness. Hunter really is the protagonists and the protagonist splat of the of the Chronicles of Darkness, more so than just about anything else. It is various things. You may recognize it more along the lines of supernatural. You may recognize it as the mortal ghost hunters. You may recognize it in some ways similar to horror podcasts like Old Gods of Appalachia or the Magnus Archives, where you are an entity, a person who's just trying to do your best and figure out where to go in life and how to protect the people who are in your care. Hunter is not a very lore-heavy game. It's not like some of the main lines of Chronicles. It's not like Werewolf and or Vampire or Mage, for example, who are very lore dense. Hunter is lore light, and that is reflected in the fact that you basically have three different levels for Hunter. You have Cell, which is intended to be a local story. If we're looking at a city, maybe blocks, maybe a neighborhood, maybe something like that. A cell is something that is a group of hunters coming together in a cell to fight for what they believe in. This is in comparison to compacts, which are probably which are closer to regional powers. They are the overarching governance structures in a lot of ways that not all hunter cells are a part of. The vast majority of hunter cells are not in compacts, but are in fact lone cells. I apologise, my cat wanted to be on stream too. Now, if there's anyone in chat, you're more than welcome to chime in. There you go. Go on. Ask questions. But fundamentally, Hunter is a game where you are defending what is yours. Hunters have existed across time quite happily. If you pick up the Dark Era's core books, Dark Era's setting books, you'll find hunters existing in Arthur's Britannia, in the Empire of Gold and Dust, in Fallen Blossoms, which is a Japanese setting discussing the kind of the rise of the Edo period, and it has its own various really cool hunter groups. But as you go through hunter history, you see more and more. Get out of it, that's my breakfast. I'm just talking to the lovely people. Yeah, sit there. As hunter compacts and regional powers kind of grow and develop. Hey, Ruda Chic. Still early, so I apologise for my timbre. Where was I going? Conspiracies. So whilst a cell may protect a neighbourhood, whilst a compact may protect a larger area, maybe an entire city, or have a vested interest in a particular in a particular area, conspiracies are exactly that. They are grand conspiracies. Unfortunately, the cat has run away because I would not give her more bacon, but she will no doubt be back at some point. She doesn't like me streaming alone. Conspiracies form kind of the big network of hunters across the world, and they are happily described in the Hunter Core book. And they are worldwide, or even multinational, or in the case of some of them, they are just confined to the US. But that's big enough, and there's enough problems in the US. So in my research for this, I went through the Dark Era's book, and I looked at the Fallen Blossoms subset in particular. And this is a really cool piece of hunter lore, particularly for Japan. And Onyx Path have continually done this really cool thing where they're interacting with multiple cultures in the best way that they can. So if you pick up Dark Era's, the first Dark Era's book, you'll see this story of as the Edo period kind of solidifies, as it becomes as it starts to reach its heyday, as I've forgotten his name. I think it's Oda Tokugawa steps into really running the shit of Japan and setting up these very strong borders, you have a shift in the Japanese hunter society. All of a sudden, you go from rogue elements here and there and everywhere to a few conspiracy compacts kicking up, like the Ama-san, I believe they're called, pearl divers, who protect other pearl divers from the dark monsters that lurk beneath the water. You have a guild of artisans who are cautious, watching everything that takes place within Edo and making moves to stand against the monsters that are within the royal court. Or you have the Oni blooded. These Actually, I'll get the artwork up because the artwork for this is just fantastic. Um, and I mean this without attempting to be um, rude in any way, but this made me want to um, play Hunter. Let me jump. Da, da, da. Here we go. The Amasan. Look at this artwork. It's gorgeous. It's a slight step up from often the more vague artwork within Chronicles. Suzumiko, bow shaman women. And look, those three words just capture everything about these hunters. Look at that. The Bijin, or Baijin, I don't know. I don't speak Japanese. I just have friends that do. Um, uh, the Once again, don't speak Japanese. I'm sorry. Hototo Gisu. Hototo Gisu. Yep. Um, these are raiders and pillagers of the underworld. That's a great. That is a great hunter archetype. And these guys, the Otodo, the Oni blooded hunters of Japan. Hunter the Vigil is like this. It is themed around darkness and light, about battling against the darkness within yourself, but also outside of yourself. Because of this, Hunter takes on a few different feelings and themes that you don't normally see in Chronicles of Darkness. Normally, you're meeting your opponents on somewhat equal terms, or at least on equal terms in the fact that you may be a supernaturally powered creature, but they're also a supernaturally powered creature, so there's an equitable exchange going on. You may be meeting with a group of people, but they may be the prince, and so you've got this equitable exchange of numbers versus power going on. Vigil doesn't have that. You are human. You have all the frailties of being human. You have all the weaknesses of being human. Sure, you may get an edge, and they call those edges endowments. But you're just fighting for your vigil. This never-ending push back against the darkness within yourself and within others. I hope that's been explained well. Like I said, Hunter is not my preferred book, preferred storytelling system. and I've only really played one hunter game, and that was mad, absolutely mad. So I'll just give it a bit of rest, have some food. Because it is 8 o'clock in the morning here, and I did not sleep well. Okay, what is what are conspiracies? Why mad? I've got time. I can talk about this. So this was being run by a great mate of mine, Clay Pigeon, who, if you aren't following, he streams just about anything. At the moment, he's streaming some art because ADHD brain is powerful. But he was running this game. It was set up north here in near Launceston, and um, how it started. It started with my first character death, actually. Um, we were workers at a fish and chip shop who went on a trip out camping. We'd all gotten the time off. Um, and he had this amazing soundboard set up. And we get there and we start, setting up. And there's something in the woods, this sort of traditional horror element. Um, and as the story over 2 sessions goes, we're prepping, we're planning, we're trying to figure out what the hell is this? Can we get out? We can't get out. Okay, well, what do we do? And then this thing sends in its two little ones to attack us. And we're mortals, like we've spec'd up regular us, human beings. Human beings don't normally have dots in weaponry. They don't normally have dots in brawl on a character sheet. And so my basketball playing character was the most combat efficient because they had high athletics so they could throw stones. So we chased off these little ones. There's a little bit of a problem going on there. And then we set up a trap. Tried to set up a trap. And we set it up. We get it all sorted. And I can't remember what happened. But something happened where we got into a position where we could be killed. And it was a choice between one of us dying and us all dying. So I just went, you know what? Let's set the thing on fire. Grabbed a can of petrol, and I'm pretty sure I doused it in fire. Ran up, got grappled, and went woof. And that was fantastic. It was one of the most scared times I've been in Hunter because it was just we didn't know what this was. It was a horror in terms of World of Darkness. It was this huge entity with two smaller ones that we didn't know what to do. We didn't know how to handle it. We didn't know what to how to push back against it. So we devolved to the old World of Darkness great saying, "Fire is the great cleanser," and so we cleansed it. Uh, and then we were a bunch of hunters. My character was dead, so I brought in a new one. I think there was one before, but I brought in a wolf-blooded. This is in first edition, so wolf-blooded were pretty bad. Um, but when in doubt, firebomb. Exactly. Um, but the next sort of small story is we went into the Underworld, um, and I don't know if Ray was with them. Ray was this wolf-blooded character. Don't think he was, but we went into the Underworld, and in the Underworld, we slowly started putting together this house that we'd been locked into, and we couldn't, or well, we could get out of, but it was horrific. But within this house, the storyteller had slowly put together the idea that this was effectively a mimic house. It was a living house, a breathing house, and its bits that made it living and breathing had slowly been pushed out of the way and put somewhere else. So we had to put it all together and then get out of the house. Luckily, we had a car. We were driving away, and we're getting near the exit of the Underworld. We're getting close, and the house rears up and starts chasing us out of the Underworld, pulling itself forward. And one of the characters just looks around at the group and goes, "Alright." Reaches down, pulls out 2 canisters of thermite, lights them up, and as the house gets closer, either he jumps in or he threw them in. And you've just got this awesome cinematic scene from as we are escaping out the Underworld. Actually, no, I think he jumped in and rammed them in so that we would escape. And this thing caught fire. Like, it just caught fire. Um, and as, we're playing around, we're kind of uh, panicking because um, we've just lost one of our Vigil members, one of our cast members. The story starts to take another turn, and we start um, basically putting together a compact within Launceston. We pick up this bit of tech with personality, and we start investing into it, and trying to keep it safe because there's things that want to reclaim it. Um, yeah, it was great, and I've got one of my continuous characters, um, Ray, who is a very traumatized werewolf who was never supposed to be a werewolf. He never changed, never had his first change, um, and so was shunned by his pack. But there was a group of um, baby werewolves, baby werewolf bogans, um, which is one of the most dangerous things, who had consistently been attacked by were-possums, who are bastards. Um, and so, you know, these sorts of stories picked up, and they're the sorts of stories that you can really only have in Hunter. Hunter is a very ground level, very simplistic game um, that you can play a Fey touched, a wolf blooded, a something else touched by the supernatural, and that, whilst you gain power, made you go, actually no, I need to protect people. I need to keep people safe. I need to make sure we're bogans. Yes, they are both human and bogan. Um, and it was very fun. It was also one of the most stressful games I've ever played. Um, yeah, I'm going to have a bit more food and then we'll jump on to a quick discussion about the conspiracies, because I think they are very neat and there's a few that I really like. Alright, so we're going to talk about conspiracies because whilst some of the compacts are very interesting, um, I would just encourage you to get the book. Um, we're certainly going to end up building a custom conspiracy that is based in Australia, building off some of the stuff that we talked about last time with Deviant, with this group who is coming in to um, keep in check the Chimera Corporation. So that will be upcoming. But for conspiracies, we have a shift in what's happening. At a cell level, you are keeping your area safe. At a compact level, you are hunting something specific. Um, they aren't. Um, they aren't bad, but they are short-lived. However, the conspiracies of Hunter are generation-spanning conspiracies. They are the groups who maintain themselves across thousands of years, across multiple failures. So, starting off, who do we have? Wait, no, that's the Ascending Ones. Gorgeous art, yet again. Hunter always gets some of the more detailed art. The Ascending Ones are really interesting because I don't recall if they were in first edition, but they're definitely here. They are hunters whose organization is probably the oldest. It started in around 3150 BC in Egypt. And in Egypt, or it's possible they were even older, in something that we could draw a link back to our mummy streams a little earlier in the year. The Ascending Ones are the oldest conspiracy, and they use alchemy to hunt their prey. They are mostly made up of Muslims in the modern day, as they're heavily based in the Middle East. Oh, sorry, what is it? What's the best way to put it? Southwest and Western Asia. Um, they are not a religious order, primarily. They just happen to have a lot of religious people. Mostly, the Ascending Ones are alchemists who are trying to keep people safe. That's it. They're trying to keep the supernatural quiet and keep those around them safe from it. Very old group, very fun to have in your game as they have alchemical power, somewhat similar to the alchemists of Mummy. This bad boy is a member of Chiron Group's Field Projects division. What is Chiron Group? Well, there's a few answers. Chiron Group is a 1905 company that started up and trades in different things. It trades in information. It trades in uh, military tech. All sorts of things. The Chiron Group is a wonderful entity. And it is reasonably ancient. It traces its lineage back through time, maybe even to the uh, Roman um, the Roman Empire. Only the board of directors of Chiron know. And that kind of starts to set it up as to what Chiron actually is. Chiron is a hunter organization, not dedicated to protection in and of itself of people, but protection of assets. What Chiron Group hunt is potential assets or the disruption to the assets of the Chiron Group. They are capitalists through and through, absolute bastards. In comparison to that, you have the mortal necromancers and academics of the Council of Bones. The Council of Bones as an organisation has resurrected many, many times over history. They are there. They are consistent. They are focused. What they are focused on is death and the dead, particularly the undead. So, if you wanted to run a story where a vampire or a geist, or even a changeling, are the core threat and core antagonists, the Council of Bones is a great choice for someone to be because they want the dead to stay dead, and they want to work alongside ghosts for the betterment of ghosts. These guys have a lot of, if you're familiar with Old World, they've got a lot of links back to groups like the Orpheus group, which is a hilarious group. And if you want to know more about Orpheus, the Law by Night podcast is presently going through Wraith the Oblivion from a perspective of a group very similar to Orpheus. So yeah, these these guys are hunting the undead in any form. That's not the same for my personal favourite hunters, the Lucifers or Lucifuge. Satan is real, is the premise of the Lucifers, or Lucifuge. Satan is active in the world, hell is real, but it's not quite the hell described in the Bible. Hell is real, but it's not people. Hell is all around us. The Lucifuge hunt hell. They hunt demons. They hunt vice and evil and corruption. Um, the Lucifuge are a group that just really speaks to me in terms of my own little religious traumas and religiousness. These are the these are the seventh sons of the seventh son. They are cursed. However, they are fighting against that curse. They are fighting back against demons. Not demons from the God Machine. That is important, and I do clarify it a bit later. But they are the people that stand in the darkness, turning its own weapons against them. They are rad. I actually really like them. Um, in comparison to the Malleus Maleficarum, Maleficarum. Battle Nun, right there. The Malleus are born out of the actual text, the Malleus Maleficarum, which is a witch hunting document. But for the Malleus, they take a different swing. Rather than being bound up in witch hunting and seeking them more and more, the Malleus are concerned with vampires. This is particularly amusing because the Lancia et Sanctum continues to exist within the Catholic and Protestant churches. This group of vampires who take on the robes of religion. The Malleus hunt those insects down. Their creator, lore-wise, is said to have vampires that he continually feeds from. He's a ghoul. He's addicted to their blood, but that has kept him immortal. That has kept him alive since the 16th century. And so the Malleus Maleficarum stand as these battle priests. If you really like Warhammer and the Ecclesiarchy themes, these are the hunters for you. Yep, they hunt witches, but mostly vampires. As opposed to these bastards. Task Force Valkyrie. Gosh. This is for people who, when you raised the idea of Hunter, they went, so like the Men in Black. Task Force Valkyrie are the Men in Black. They are spies. They are conspiracy nuts. They are masters of disseminating and hiding information and ensuring that conspiracies continue in the world so that they can act. They are a bureaucratic, technological bunch of bastards. Much like the Chiron group, they don't um, they don't necessarily hunt. They are sent to assess. They are sent to watch and report and bring back information. They are fundamentally information gathering techno monkeys. But what that means is occasionally they do have to neutralize their threats. Unlike Vanguard Serial Crimes Unit, these are psychic cops. It's what the book says, it's what they say, it's what I says. They are psychic cops. What do they hunt? They hunt mostly slashers. And they are hunting for an individual known as Dr. Wintergreen. Who that is, well, that depends on who you ask, of course. As all things do. But they are psychic cops. So that's Hunter, broadly. Um, yeah, if there's anyone in chat who has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Um, oh gosh, coffee is good. How does the reach of conspiracies differ? All right. Um, so certain things, if you mean the reach, the ability to access different things, each one has its own different. Um, well, yeah. Um, Taelisha I guess, or Al. I'm going to call you T, because I like that. Um, Basically, Hunter conspiracies are all global in their operation. Some of them are a bit more specialized. So take Vanguard and compare it to the Ascending ones. The Ascending ones will have a stronger presence in the Middle East, but they will exist across all um, potential locations. They are not locked into a geography because they're an organization that will fly people out to specific locations if those locations pop up. Okay, but Vanguard is particularly located in, I believe it says, northern United States and Europe. That doesn't mean that there can't be a Vanguard operative in, Japan, for example, or in South Africa. It just means they're rarer. This is slightly different to, say, the Lucifers or the Malleus Maleficarum, who do, in some ways, work together, because secretly their bosses get together about once a year for a little bit of a tea party, but you didn't hear that from me. So the Lucifers will be shipped out to different locations, um, because they take demonic activity very seriously. Um, but if something reeks of the demonic, pardon me, and the Lucifers are called in, but the thing turns out to be, say, a vampire who is actually just summoning the spirits of the dead, they may offset it. Or because they're there, they'll get as much information as they can, neutralize the threat, and then go have a chat with the Council of Bones or with the Malleus Maleficarum to see where they should go. Hello, darling. Hello, darling. The basically the reach of the conspiracies is granted to them not by who is there in the area, but who could be there for your story. Um, well, the Chronicles of Darkness is not a realism simulator. Oh, oh my! I'm sorry. Did I move? Chronicles is a horror simulator. It's B-grade schlock horror, particularly for Hunter. Particularly with things like Slasher Chronicles, which are chronicles based around a group of or a group of murderers, each with their own particular drives and desires and almost supernatural powers coming alive. So the reach of conspiracies in that sort of setting, say a slasher setting, is just as much as you want it to be. This slasher leaves a tell or a calling card of that is a small pendant tying it to one of the seven deadly sins. We'll just rip off Seven, the movie Seven. Um, is that enough to get the Lucifers' attention, or is it still in VASCU? Or, because it was done in the Middle East, it actually just falls to the Ascending Ones and they take care of it. Because of the breadth of what um, the conspiracies have to offer, they can have as much information as you want, and they can interact as much as you, the storyteller, wish them to. Does that make sense? Choice. Sorry, my coffee fought back. So, what we started playing with last week and what we'll do for our last little 10 minutes. Oh, excuse me. Is we started putting together this setting doc, which is, as I described after a chat with one of my mates, um, this idea started to come to mind, framed around the Chimera Cult. These are a large-scale international threat that operates across multiple domains. um, but the main thing they're trying to do is they're trying to fight Regio Rapa, which I think I've spelt wrong. But their key base is in Longford, in the Northern Midlands. But they've got agents all across Australia, New Zealand, into the Pacific, gathering information. Their key antagonist is the Bellefonds Compact. Uh, because of the mythological significance. Now, we're actually going to alter Bellefonds a little bit. It's not a compact, it's a conspiracy. Um, always update. Once again, big shout out to Obsidian. They are fantastic. Now, let's see. Conspiracies. 271. For creating a conspiracy. If you get the book, have the book, or anything. So, what is the concept for the Bellefonds conspiracy? Standing against kidnapping and the monsters within society. It can be much more simple than that. The one in the book is a conspiracy that searches for magical relics, and that is it. Um, so conspiracies tend to be more flexible with the moral code of hunters, the code of the Vigil. Um, Actually, we're just gonna edit that. Anti Chimera Cult. What's their hook? What is the thing that makes them more flexible with the code? Um, for these guys, they I don't know. I don't know what makes them more flexible with the code. We'll probably flesh that out as time goes on. But if you have any ideas, of course, you're always welcome. This is cooperative. Um, History started in 1848. Um, a Actually, by a this is where we get to do some fun stuff, because what I'm thinking is a group that's formed based on the practice of blackbirding. Um, so that was in the 1860s. So blackbirding is the coercion of people to work as slaves or poorly paid labourers from their native land. It is something that Australia has done for years. Um, Australians would often take Pacific Islanders and blackbird them and bring them over to work sugarcane or pearl diving. It's an evil, evil thing. It's slavery by another name. Um, in Tassie, for example, Aboriginal women were often blackbirded for for sealing, as in hunting for seals. Um, yeah, look, it's bad. Um, so we'll shift this to 1868. The former black-birded worker fought back against. We'll go her. We'll just spice up the gender norms against her master. Oops. Doopy doopy doo. Alright. Sorry, I've just got to check if, if or when I need to jump off this. Let's take a look. Oh, I've got 2 hours. I'm going to play around for a little bit longer because I'm enjoying this. Yeah, so former black-bearded worker who fought back against her master who used the tired workers as experiments to make better harvesters. Eugenics is the bad guy. I'm quite happy with that. What sort of feel do we want for these guys? We want give a fair go. Theme. Big theme for hunters are. Actually, we'll just go row, fight the power. So they were joined by other workers across Australia and New Zealand. Stood against the human experimentation, testing, and harm. Australian white settlers. White colonists and indigenous and spirits of the land would undergo to fulfill their own vainglorious goals. Spirit across the Pacific into Indonesia, East Asia, subcontinent, fighting against slavery, human experimentation, and weird science. Aesthetics. Ned Kelly body armor. Let's take a look. And then I'll probably look at jumping off. And Kelly's armor. Ba-ba-da-ba-da. So this sort of stuff. Let's get a good look. Yeah, shrink the picture. Actually, that is hilarious. And fits well with the Australian feel that Ned Kelly brings. Um, People who are down on their luck. Like, extra credits actually do a fantastic look at the Kelly gang. And their kind of origins. Poor Irish folk who were just trying to get by, and then um, yeah, they got to robbing. Ned killed a bloke, I think, if I recall correctly, and the rest is history. This armor was used to stop the low caliber rounds of the military and the police at the time. You can see the dents, pop marks where they've actually hit bang on, and the armor held. So let's jump to this. Recruitment. Um, that doesn't matter. Factions. That'll be interesting, and we can do that later. Um, One of the things I do dislike about Hunter, and they've kept it in this version, which I think I'd alter. Um, yeah, absolutely. Um, their luck. Oh, so we're getting a an interesting twist with these guys. They are they play into fate. Where's themes? Row, fight the power. Fate. Luck. Mood. What was I saying? Hunter they've elected to do a status system that gives you bonuses on 1, 3, and 5. I personally don't like that, but I understand why they've done it. I like giving my little hunters a bit more juice. And then we have endowments. Now, endowments have to be thematically linked to the conspiracy. So, what I think these endowments need. They need to play on this theme of standing with the disenfranchised or standing against. That's what they've done. Weird. Standing against human experimentation, and their endowments are going to be luck-based powers that manipulates strategized that manipulates possible out- outcomes and detonations. So the Bellefonte conspiracies fundamentally think of them as kind of anti-magic auras that are running around just going, no, I don't think so today. Don't think we're going to do that. No, darling, we don't do that anymore. Please be more, please be more thoughtful in the future. That sort of stuff. And in upcoming streams, we'll play around with that because Chronicles of Darkness actually has a lot of luck-based powers. You've got things like Changeling the Lost, Mage with its Fate Arcana, and all that sort of stuff that really play into the nature of luck and possibilities. So, yeah, I'm going to jump off because I have a few things to accomplish today. But thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much for coming along on this journey. It's been a bit of a longer stream today, but I have enjoyed it. Thank you, T, for your lovely recommendations and thoughts. Um, Check out the Onyx Path Patreon for anything going on. Also in news at the moment, Chronicles of Darkness select titles are down to 10% of cost at Drive-Thru RPG. So that can be $1 or $2 Australian. I can't remember which ones in particular, but the Monday meeting notes put out by Onyx Path should have all of that information. Check out their Patreon, check out Twitter, and yeah, we're going to continue building this Australian focused, well, Tasmanian and Australian focused storyline and see how that goes. Thanks very much for joining me, Kay.